And welcome again into the television version of Strategies for a Living. I'm marriage and family therapist David McMillan. I'm delighted that you've tuned in, joined with me today here on Strategies for Living. What are we all about? Well, living healthier, happier, more peaceful lives in our bodies, in our minds, in our spirits, in our relationships. And we do that by engaging in important conversations with folks we like to call life strategists each and every time we do Strategies for Living. And I've got a very special life strategist to introduce you to today. She is Cassie Hammett, and she is the executive director and founder of The Hub. Now, Cassie, I invited you here because, I stay in my little office most of the time. But in my little office at 1407 East 70th Street, in the past little while, I've had people coming in and saying, hey, do you hear about The Hub? Do you know about The Hub? So finally I got online and saw The Hub is a new kind of ministry, but you guys are obviously getting a lot of attention. What's going on?
Yeah, we're actually not quite that new. We started almost 8 years ago.
Yeah, I was surprised when I saw that.
I think that just the conversations and the traction we're getting around the community is because we just do things a little different than I think people are used to when it comes to serving people in poverty.
The mission is to serve the homeless?
Yeah, so the mission of the Hub is to serve the impoverished of Shreveport-Bossier. So whether it's someone who finds themselves in homelessness on the street, someone who's living paycheck to paycheck, a single mom, women and children who are in some sort of exploitation, it's a broad
There's
reach.
A lot of people
That's
that
right.
have a lot of needs. Do we
That's
know, do we have any idea, the numbers that we're talking about in Shreveport-Bossier City, USA?
There are numbers. I don't know them.
Right.
A lot of times they're all different.
Right.
They're so radically different from time to time. But and the thing about poverty is a lot of times it's situational and it's seasonal, and so it changes. The characteristics of what it looks like changes, and someone can be fine today and find themselves in poverty tomorrow. So then the numbers are really hard, I think, to track. So.
What were you doing before you founded The Hub and became the executive director?
Well, I was very young. I'm only 30.
You're still very young.
Yeah. I attended Louisiana Tech. I graduated from there and got married to an amazing man named Brent. And we moved to Shreveport, actually. It was kind of an answer to a calling that God had put on my life very young, at 15 or 16 years old. And so I moved to Shreveport and worked at the Shreveport Rescue Mission, actually, at their new facility for women. And I was there for 8 or 9 months. And it's one of those things like I thought, okay, I've arrived. I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. I'm working with the homeless.
It felt right. Yeah.
That's right. And it's an amazing place. But the longer I was there, the Lord just kept stirring something different inside of me. And
that'll happen.
Yeah, giving me a more clearer picture about what he was actually calling me to. And so I was there for 8 or 9 months and then transitioned out of that job and started The Hub.
Well, and that's one of the things that I wanted to ask you, Cassie, the Hub and your mission. You're not the only place in town that serves the impoverished and that serves women and children. Many of us know about the Rescue Mission. Many of us know about the Salvation Army. What distinguishes The Hub? What makes it different from the other places? And I'm sure all of you work together.
That's right.
To serve the population. But what makes The Hub different?
Yeah, I think it's important, first of all, to say different, not better.
Right.
There are a ton of amazing things going on in Shreveport and Bossier. But some things that kind of set us apart are, one, we're not a shelter, so we're not an overnight shelter, much like the Rescue Mission or Salvation Army. We have nowhere.
People don't come to stay.
No, sir, no.
Okay.
But one kind of huge difference with what we do, there's 1,000, but one is that we do everything in relationship, so relationally based ministry, meaning that someone who comes in off the street is not just a number to us, not really just here's this free whatever. They're a person, they're a friend, they're a part of our family. I think that's a new conversation for people to be having about people in poverty. I think that there's kind of this age-old idea.
You guys don't do statistics then?
No, we don't.
Yeah.
So there's this age-old idea that if I'm not in poverty, I need to show up and serve people lesser than me, right? People lower than me. And we're trying to flip that conversation to be more that we've all equally walked through some things that have made us poor in one way or the other. And so kind of leveling the playing ground to where when you come to an event or you come to our building, sometimes it's hard to distinguish the difference between volunteer and person receiving services. So I think that's one thing.
That's refreshing.
Yeah, I think it's very cool. And we have 2,500 different volunteers that come through. Yes, so we have quite a bit.
You really are the hub.
That's right. That's where the name comes from. Is we're kind of like the center for people who are in need of things, and then people in the community who want to be a part of providing whatever that thing is. And so. But the biggest thing that sets us apart is the model of ministry that we use and everything that we do.
How would you describe that model?
Well, whether it's working with kids all the way to women and families and people in homelessness, we stick to one model, and it's an earning-based participation model. And basically the way that we work is when someone comes in our building, which is on Cotton Street, it's called the Lovewell Center. The name comes from loving people well and not just giving
the
them.
Lovewell Center. And to tell people where that is, many of us pass by and we see the building with the mural.
That's right.
The big mural on the side.
The big AT&T building we're directly behind, where the big obnoxious mint green building says Love Your City on the side. So the Lovewell Center has 4 businesses inside. It has a coffee shop called the Drink Well, a food pantry called the Eat Well, a laundromat called the Smell Well, and then a clothing store called the Dress Well. So we have 4 main businesses inside our building, inside of our facility. And when people come in, no matter who they are, we don't have any kind of restrictions on who we serve.
Right.
It's whoever finds themselves coming to one of our outreaches or walking through our door. They're registered for a debit card. And that debit card works inside our businesses.
So one of those 4 businesses.
That's
I can
right.
go get a cup of coffee, or I can go.
You can get coffee, you can get your groceries for the week, you can wash your clothes,
go get my clothes clean.
Yeah, you can buy new clothes, you can all of that inside of our building. And so the way that it works is you get a debit card, and we have a semester system of classes. So we have classes, meetings, recovery meetings, GED program, job connections. The list goes on and on and on. And as you engage in those things, attend classes, go to meetings, you're earning credits on that card.
So credit gets put on my card.
That's right. So like if you show up for a GED class, if you're earning your GED, you're earning a certain amount of credits every time you come. The reason we do that is, one, when you're in poverty, you, without even knowing it, subconsciously, you start to believe that I don't have because I can't do.
So there's a poverty mentality
mindset. Yeah,
or mindset.
There's a mindset about being poor. You know, you, especially for those who are generationally poor, who are born into an environment where they don't have the things that they need. Often you find, I think people assume that it's this entitlement, like I don't want to do, and most of the time it's not. Most of the time it's I don't know how, because no one's ever challenged me or pushed me. And really when it comes down to it, it's about they don't have value or worth. And so they just believe I'm in this situation, I have to just make it till tomorrow, I can't think about my future, I can't think about what I want to do. And
kind of
so,
like there's no way, I don't see a way
right,
out. There's
yeah.
no
and
way
so
out. Yeah.
They begin to exist on what people give them, you know, people's leftovers, or exist on what the government can give.
Government subsidy
Right,
or
yeah.
whatever.
And so, and they build this mindset that that's the best that they can do. And we want to reverse that, you know, because we believe that God created every single person with the same potential to do and be who he created them to be, right? Me and you, and it doesn't matter who. And so
we all have something that we're supposed to do on the planet.
That's right. And so we introduce that through this earning model that says, you know, you can do this, you know, whether it's working on a project in the building or taking the trash out, starting very small, but you can do something. And when you purchase with your earning what you need, there's something different that's communicated to you. You know, I'm getting this food because I worked for it. You know, I showed up, I did what I was supposed to.
Yeah.
And what we see, and we're not just, it's not like we're just like come to this Bible study and that's it. It's like real life change kind of resources, like GED and a job class and financial literacy. What we know is if they're attending the classes,
it's real life.
That's right. They're gonna get the skills to move out of poverty. Yeah. And then as they go to those classes, as our ministry, we choose about 10 people at a time to kind of focus in on and get into housing. And so we are constantly kind of shifting people through our classes as they're learning skills, because our goal is we don't want them to need us. for very long.
You want to work yourself out of a
That's
job.
right. Yeah, we want them to be coming back to volunteer. We don't want.
Do you let them know that to begin with?
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's from the very beginning of our relationship with anyone. We say, like, we want to get you to a point where you don't need us and where you're showing up to show other people how to take that same path. And so we do house
Because if you really
people.
want to learn something, teach it.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah.
And so our housing, we do house the homeless, but it's only people who are attending resources, who are learning, because we want to ensure that when we put them into an apartment or when we house them or when we give them that access, that it could be forever, that they could be forever out of poverty. Or
Breaking
Right.
the bounds, breaking the
That's right.
ropes of
That's
poverty.
right. So I think that's what really sets us apart a lot, is
Wow.
that it's just a very different way of thinking about things. And
Is this a brand new model that you've come up with, or is this a model
I
that
think that
exists in
there's-
other communities?
I think that the earning model, obviously, you could probably find all across the United States.
In varying forms, but I
right,
think
yeah, in
you guys are
different
doing it in a very unique way.
Yeah, well, we use the debit card. We kind of went back and forth on a few years ago on what that would look like. And we chose a debit card because it is what they'll deal with on the other side
It's
of poverty.
real world,
That's
isn't
right,
it?
yeah. And it
Yeah.
gives them something to be proud of. It's like having, not real money, but it's like having a bank account in a sense. You can check your balance and you can look at how much you've earned and how much you've spent.
Again, life skills.
That's right, yeah.
Again, teaching real life skills that we all need to survive.
Yeah.
Because if I let my minus sign in the bank
That's
go
right.
bigger than
That's
my
right.
plus
And
sign.
I think one
yeah.
thing that people, a misconception about what we do is people think, well, if they're out of points, you give it to them anyways, right? And we're like, well, do you get your groceries if you're out of money?
Yeah.
No, there comes a point where we have to look at that person and say, hey, you don't have enough points for this resource, but hey, there's something in 15 minutes you can attend.
You can do,
Yeah,
and,
right.
and
So-
you can receive that.
Yeah, and so we don't back down. Now, we're not like mean about it. Obviously, there's grace and mercy involved in a lot of what we do. And the learning curve is a little slow. It's a different mentality altogether. You're asking an entire population of people to reverse a culture, right? To
Right.
kind of, and that's
It's almost
hard.
you're asking to swim against, turn
That's
around
right,
and
yeah.
swim
And
against the
it's a
tide.
difficult conversation a
Yeah.
lot of times for
Yeah.
people to have. And so just what we're committed to, though, is holding hands with them and walking them through why it's important, to earn. And not everyone likes it.
Sure,
Not everyone sticks around. We
But
do find,
obviously plenty do.
yeah, we've registered a little over 1,500 debit cards, and so that's a lot of people that are coming in, through our doors.
Talking about making a difference, the hub is obviously making a difference. Now, we're going to take a break in a moment.
Okay.
When we come back, there's some things I need to talk about. First of all of this doesn't just happen by accident.
No.
You're a 501c3, which means you're a nonprofit, and donations
That's right.
you rely upon. So we'll talk about that. A little birdie told me something about a softball team that was special.
That's right.
Maybe one or more softball teams that are special. So we'll talk about that. And we'll also talk about a fundraiser coming up. You've got a dinner called Justice for the City
Yes.
coming up. We'll talk about all of that when we come back. When we do that?
That's right.
All right, Cassie Hammett, who is the executive director and the founder of the Hub. If you don't know about the Hub, you need to. Get online as soon as this program is over and find out more, and come back with us and learn what you can do with the Hub. When we come back, Cassie Hammett today, our life strategist here on Strategies for Living. We'll be right back.
Storms come up fast. Storm Protect Your Family now. We want you to know a safe room or storm shelter can provide the highest protection for your family during tornadoes and other severe windstorms. To learn more about how you can protect your family and property from storms, visit getagameplan.org and click on Mitigation Plan. Louisiana, we can do this. This mitigation message brought to you by the Governor's Office of Homeland Security and Emergency Preparedness.
I never should have clicked on that link. It promised to unlock the secret of male enhancement, but it didn't. All it did was brag to my entire friend list that I had found a cure for the average male and that they should try it too. Once you spam your mom with a message telling her to increase the size of her manhood, family dinners have been a little weird.
It's about me.
It's about me.
And me.
And me.
It's about me.
And me.
It's about me.
It's about me.
And me.
It's about me.
It's about you.
I teach a wide variety of things, including film editing, directing, documentary making, lighting. I fell in love with art as a young child, and it's just always something that has stuck with me.
You know, I love the whole process of going on set, going back into the editing room, telling a story. That's what I really love about film.
I got laid off from my job, and I figured this was the perfect opportunity to go to school to get a degree for it.
As a kid, I was really into geeky stuff. I couldn't think of anything else that I would rather do.
They really provide you with the equipment and you know, the necessary tools in order to, you know, advance in a career, especially in communications field.
Well, one thing that really drew me to video production especially is it's just a way to reach people. And as someone who likes to communicate with other people, I felt that mass communication, especially broadcasting, was a tool that I could use.
You get some hands-on experience. They've got good stuff to work with. They really know what they're doing, and they're willing to pass it on.
When our students leave Bossier Parish Community College, they are equipped to get a job immediately, or they can move on to a 4-year degree.
And welcome back into the television version of Strategies for Living. I'm marriage and family therapist David McMillan. Obviously, you're watching Strategies for Living, but are you listening to Strategies for Living? We started out on the radio, News Radio 710 Keel, 20 some odd years ago. I've lost count. We're still there. Sunday mornings, 9:05 to 10 o'clock. Tune in on News Radio 710 Keel. You can also find us at strategiesforliving.com and in the Shreveport Times Lagniappe section on Fridays. Look for our column in the Shreveport Times. But today, we're visiting with Cassie Hammett. She's our life strategist. She's the executive director, the founder of a hot new ministry in town called The Hub. But I learned today it's not so new. But boy, we are hearing about it right and left. Now, you are a ministry, you are a nonprofit organization, so you rely upon donations. How does that work if somebody's watching and says, hey, I like what you're doing?
That's right. We're completely funded through private donations, through individuals, churches, businesses, schools. We don't have any grants, local, state, or federal. So everything we do relies
that keeps
on the
you
community.
free.
That's right. That keeps our hands from being tied. And what we do is so bizarre and so unique that grants would really cause us, you know, some hurdles. And so, but yeah, it's all of our, everything we do is donations. Everything from the food that people buy, the laundry detergent that we use, the clothes that we, you know, that are part of our earning system, to every salary, every dollar that goes out of our ministry. And so you can give financially on our website, and on our website is all the steps for giving, how to give physically, how to write a check and send it, where to send it, and how to give online. You can give items that we use. You could bring us things every day of the week. So
Fantastic.
all of that is on the website. Yeah,
Okay.
it's very easy to do.
Okay, very good. Now, a little birdie told me that there was a story behind softball
That's
and
right.
the Hub.
Which is funny because I know nothing about sports at all. So the fact that we've kind of become known for this is quite funny. But at the end of spring last year, one of my staff members came to me and said, hey, the guys want to start a softball team for SPAR. And so I was kind of like, okay, whatever. Like I didn't really think much of it.
not?
We paid the fee. That's right. Yeah. We paid the fee and they recruited for the team. And it was mainly people who were, we had just currently met, who were in homelessness, struggling with addiction, felonies on their record, all that kind of stuff. Kind of the typical population that we work with. And these particular guys in the first team were people that we had kind of been focusing in on, trying to come alongside of them.
So they were some of that group you were talking about.
That's right.
You
so
were really
it was very
focusing
beginning.
upon.
It was the very beginning of that team being on our radar because they had all just kind of recently come around, and so We got them jerseys. We did the whole thing. Only one of them had ever put a glove on their hand, so it was a little bad news bears. You know, the first two games. But we have a city bus that someone gave our ministry, and so we would just load up the bus every week, and we would go out to spar. And
Did somebody coach or?
That's right. Okay, so a staff member coached.
Okay.
And
you didn't try to do it.
No,
since you know so much about softball.
No, I wasn't even allowed in the dugout.
No.
And a staff member also managed the team, and so and a few of our staff played on the team.
Mm-hmm.
And so the first few games were terrible. I mean, you know, only one of them had ever played, and his name was Albert, and he only had one lung. You know, so we were kind of trying to figure it out. But as they began to play, they were playing different teams from across the city. They started learning the rules. I mean, they didn't practice or anything. It was just kind of like you practice.
Just get on the bus and go out there and play.
That's right. And one thing that people didn't know when we started was that every team member had to set some pretty significant goals before they started the season, and in order to play at each particular game, had to have achieved something or shown up for something. So before they got on the bus, they had check-in system in a sense, like did you go to GED?
Did you do this? Did you do
right,
this?
Because,
okay, you go.
That's right, because we didn't really want to just play. I mean, like softball's awesome, and I'll explain why it's awesome in itself. But we really wanted it to be kind of a catalyst for change.
Right.
And so the second or third game, Roy Lang from the Times came out and wrote a paper, an article for the paper. He's awesome. He's the coolest guy ever, and I'm really thankful that we met him. But he wrote a story. We didn't even know he was there. He wrote a story.
Yeah.
And the next morning, the story, he got phone calls from USA Today, Associated Press. This story just exploded. We had no idea. We had no idea. And so it was really crazy to see all that attention and things like that. And so the Texas Rangers called and asked if they could host our team over to a game, which we went to in June. And they just treated them like royalty. It was just crazy, but they treated them like royalty. They met the players. They got to do the whole deal. But what was so cool about that whole season of softball is, you know, people keep asking, like, why did you do that? And honestly, I didn't plan on it. It was an accidental thing. But what we saw was we gave them ownership over something. You know, they had to show up and do what they were supposed to do, but they were on a team. And they played together. They learned how to win, how to lose. They learned how to handle disappointment, how to control their temper, you know, all of those things. But they were functioning as a team.
Yeah.
And we went from like 10 to 15 fans at the beginning of the season to close to 150 coming out to the games. And so just feeling that support and that encouragement. And by the end of the season, our commitment was every homeless person would be housed, every jobless person would find employment, and we did it. Every single one of them has been kind of put on a path to getting out. We did it. So what was funny is we went to the Rangers game, we did all that stuff, and it was just life-changing for them. I mean, just being in that environment and being treated that way, and getting to see other people treat them the way that we do, the way we believe they should be treated, you know, with honor and respect. And I mean, their lives were changed forever. Well, when fall ball started to roll around, which starts actually tomorrow night, we had so many people want to play that we had to do a second team. And the second team is coached by a guy who was homeless on our first team. He's now coaching the second team. And so he went out and recruited.
Again,
for
it's
his
the
team.
model.
It's the
model.
model. That's
It's
exactly
the model.
right. Accidentally, the model, through softball.
You know, I don't know if you could say it's God's hand in it,
No, it
Cassie,
is.
but it's God's shadow.
Yeah,
I mean, God's shadow's all over the place.
That's
there.
right. And you know, we feel like those two teams, especially the first one that we got to go through that with, really challenged people in our community to think differently about homelessness and the people involved. And I will say some really cool stories came out of that first season. Albert, who's the star player, the one lung, learned how to play in prison, you know, so he's had kind of a hard life and had been estranged from his only family member really in town for about 5 or 6 years. And I knew his brother, and I just went to him and I told him, hey, he's playing on this team. We would love for you to come to a game. And he came to a game and stood at the back. They hadn't talked to each other in 5 years. That was the first game of the season. He came. By the end of the season, he was coaching third base, and they had completely reconnected as brothers, and now he's on the team.
That's beyond a shadow. I think that's called a miracle. We've only got a couple of minutes left. Time flies. We're going to have you come back. I know there's a big fundraiser coming up, a big dinner coming up called Justice for the City. Real quickly, that comes up October the 7th.
Tuesday night.
What's that about?
It's a dinner for anyone who wants to sponsor and bring. You can bring, if you sponsor, you can bring 8 people with you to learn about what we're doing, to hear what this last year, what we, all the stuff that happened in our ministry. We're trying to raise our entire operating budget in one night. And
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so kind of a large goal, but yeah, so that's October 7th, and all of that information is on our website.
Where's it going to be?
It's going to be at Shreveport Country Club.
Shreveport Country Club, October the 7th. So if you want to get involved in it,
Just go to the website.
Go
It's
to
on
the
front
website.
page. That's right.
I hope that there are people that are watching us today that want to get involved in what you're doing, and they can go to the website.
That's
Cassie Hammett, thank you so much for everything
for
you do.
having me.
Thank you for coming and being a part of Strategies for Living. Folks, thank you for being a part of Strategies for Living. We'll be back again next week. We hope you'll join us. For Cassie Hammett, I'm marriage and family therapist Dave McMillan. See you next time here on Strategies for Living.